What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got winning in today's NFL is almost impossible. Let's check this out.
All 32 NFL teams enter each and every year with one goal in mind, and that's to win a Super Bowl.
Yes,
and
sir.
As simple as that goal is, there is years
I just really hope
years
this
of
year
hard
is
work
our
put in
year,
by coaches and players.
Because I'm tired of saying that shit. I'm gonna keep it
in between OTAs, minicamp, training camp, preseason games, and game planning each and every week. It's not an exaggeration to say there are thousands upon thousands of hours put in each and every year. And in today's video, we're going to break down why winning in today's NFL is almost impossible, and why winning a game in the NFL is such a big deal.
It's impossible to win with the goddamn Chiefs and the refs every year.
It's an extremely difficult task to accomplish because there's a lot of talent evaluation that goes into it, as well as financial management to get under the NFL salary cap each year. But the talent evaluation doesn't stop with just the NFL draft. Teams hand out bad contracts all the time, and having a large contract on the roster with next to zero production is a net negative for everyone in the organization.
They gonna be paying off this debt for the next like 2-3 years, bro. That shit is crazy. The Broncos, they still paying off Russ, but I think it's still like the last year for that. The Browns about to be in a deep money hole, boy.
One aspect of building a football team, and in today's video, we're going to break down the reality of why it is so difficult to win and win consistently in the modern era of the NFL. Now let's begin.
There you go.
And we are starting today's video by discussing what at this point is almost a prerequisite for competing with very little exception, and it's elite quarterback play. I don't get in the rankings too much on the channel, but I don't think it's wrong to say there are 4 quarterbacks that are in their own tier at this point in time, and in no order, it's Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow. And I do think that's a consensus at this point that those are the top 4 in some order. After that, there's several guys that could be in the 5 through 10.
I'm gonna get my top 5 right now. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts. That's my top 5, man, heading into this season.
You can think of who those guys are.
You can't deny the talent of Mahomes, bro. Even though we hate the nigga,
we
can't deny how talented that motherfucker
and you either can't slow those guys down along with their high-powered offense, though Kansas City wasn't very high-powered in 2024, and that's a bit of a different discussion, although they still won 15 games. The point is, you are not just fighting an uphill battle. This is not a scenario where, oh shucks, we fumbled the opening kickoff and we're down 7-0 against a bad football team with 13 minutes left in the first quarter. How will we ever overcome this? No, this is more of an uphill war because none of those guys are going anywhere for a long time. Mahomes is the oldest of the 4 and he will turn 30 in September. Allen was born in May of '96. Burrow was born in December of '96, and Lamar was born in February of '97, and have all of these guys in their prime at one point in time genuinely stinks for everyone else in the AFC. And I know the initial thought may be, well, we had Tom, Peyton, Phillip Rivers, and Big Ben all in their primes in the late 2000s, and teams dealt with it then. And while that may be true, Phillip nor Ben ever had 40-plus passing touchdown seasons the way Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow just did. I mean, Lamar Jackson just had a 41-4 touchdown.
That's what I'm saying. And along with Derrick Henry having 1,900 yards rushing
ratio, and nearly ran for 1,000 yards on top of it. Joe Burrow just had the best year of his career as he threw for nearly 5,000 yards as well as 43 passing touchdowns, and the biggest kicker of all that everyone obviously knows, the Bengals didn't even make the playoffs. And in a normal year where his defense doesn't give up 26 points or more in 8 of 17 games, and they play even league average defense, then there's a chance Joe Burrow wins MVP. And the reality is, there are several teams that would give up 3 or more first-round picks for Joe Burrow. There are teams that would give up their starting quarterback plus a first-round pick, or even their starting quarterback and multiple first-round picks to have a chance to have Joe Burrow be their starting quarterback. And this was in a year where Joe Burrow's #1 receiver won the Triple Crown, which was just the second time since 2005 in Jamar Chase. And you would think that by having a quarterback and receiver produce the way they did, that they would be a tough out in the playoffs, but this was a team that didn't even get there, and a team that's in a conference that has several other teams on the rise, like the Broncos.
But playing in the
Chargers,
AFC
and
is just so
Patriots,
incredibly hard,
playoffs
bro.
over Cincinnati in 2024.
Way harder than the NFC.
And in a lot of ways,
Can't
it's
convince me
either get the
otherwise.
quarterback or attempt to get the quarterback or try and build a super roster the way the Eagles did in 2024, while also having a very good quarterback in Jalen Hurts. And I think there is some people that legitimately think Jalen Hurts is strictly a product of how good the Eagles roster is. And while there is some truth to that, there is absolutely no denying.
I'm gonna say this: I would like to see any other quarterback try to play in the system. Like this system fits Hurts so perfectly, bro. You know what I'm saying? I feel like no other quarterback can play as good in this system as Jalen Hurts has. I'm gonna just say that right now.
How good Jalen Hurts has played throughout his career when it's hell or high water. And for reference, he's led the Eagles to 2 Super Bowl appearances and outplayed Patrick Mahomes, a 3-time champion and 2-time league MVP in his own right, both times. And to go back to absolutely needing a quarterback to even have a chance of winning a Super Bowl, which drafting a quarterback is a big dart throw and a risk in itself, a potential job-altering risk for GMs and head coaches, there's a reason that over the past 4 AFC Championship games, there's only been 4 quarterbacks to play in those games, and they are Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow. And even if you draft a quarterback number 1 or number 2 overall, or in the top 5 or the top 10, and you hit on that,
sometimes I ain't gonna lie, I feel bad for other like talented AFC teams, bro. But like at the end of the day, like how are you supposed to beat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow? Like that's just crazy, bro. Along with how talented each teams, you know what I'm saying, are, bro, especially defensive wise, except for Cincinnati, bro. They can stay out of this defensive discussion, bro, for right now. But like all other 3 teams have great defenses, bro. You know what I'm saying? And defenses win championships along with these high scoring offenses, bro. So like it's just incredibly hard for teams like the Texans, you know what I'm saying, the Colts, the Broncos, the Chargers, and teams like that to be able to be, you know what I'm saying, good, especially in the playoffs when you got to go through those teams. Because every year, bro, you know what I'm saying, the Chiefs, you know what I'm saying, my Ravens, Bills, they're always gonna have at least one game at home. And it's going to be hard to play in any one of those stadiums, bro. So
with CJ Stroud,
nothing tough,
is guaranteed. And by the way, I do want to credit the Texans for pretty much doing everything right since they drafted CJ Stroud. I mean, they made a big trade to go get Will Anderson immediately after drafting CJ Stroud, and they selected their franchise quarterback and franchise pass rusher in a span of 10 minutes in real time, and they are set up for a lot of future success. But as we know, nothing is guaranteed. And I think the belief of where the Texans currently are is that they are a good team, and they are, but I think the Chargers' playoff win, in which they absolutely dominated the Chargers in the wildcard round, kind of made people forget about how the Texans season actually played out. This was a team that struggled big time throughout the 2024 regular season, whether it was Bobby Slowick not calling plays at a high level, as there was a reason he was let go after the season, or whether it was due to injury, as they
like I've said before, and I'm gonna say it again, if the Texans were fully healthy, they beat the Chiefs twice. They beat them twice. Because, like, bro, they were out without Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs. Their offensive line, even though they were horrible, they were pretty banged up too, bro. Like, if they were fully healthy, they beat the Chiefs, bro. I'm not trying to hear nothing about that. Like, bro, they were going to beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs were struggling to beat a hurt Texans team, bro. So what? How are they going to beat a fully healthy Texans team?
Which is another part of building an NFL team that we'll get into later in the video. But my point is you can do everything the right way the Texans have over the past couple of years, and ultimately they have won 2 playoff games in 2 years, which is a huge accomplishment in itself, especially with a rookie quarterback during the 2023 season, in which they beat the Browns in the wild card round, and you can still be in a really difficult position even despite doing a lot of things right. Now, the Texans have some concerns around their offensive line, and we could do an entire video strictly on the Houston Texans, but from building a franchise up since they brought in DeMeco Ryans, they've done a lot of things the right way, and I credit the Texans for doing so. But if it came hell or high water, I would not personally pick the Texans to go to the Super Bowl this year, strictly because of how hard it is to get there in the first place. And with that thought process in mind, this is why I was never critical of the Colts selecting Anthony Richardson number 4 overall in 2023. They knew internally entering that draft that if we do not select a quarterback with a high ceiling, that we are probably never going to be able to go into a Cincinnati, Buffalo, Baltimore, or Kansas City with the season on the line and have a legitimate shot to win unless we build an absolute super team,
bro,
and that's kind of a rare
kind of fucked up, but
so we are going to swing for the fences, swing for the grand slam, and hope that AR works out. And if AR does not work out the way it doesn't look like it's going to as we enter the 2025 season, then guess what? We will probably be in a situation where we're selecting a quarterback in the top 10 of the draft in either 2 or 3 years. And there's a very real reality for Indy that is
if AR doesn't work out this year, they're gonna be probably a bottom 5 team, bro. Like, or I'll say a bottom 10 because they do got like good weapons and stuff like that, and a pretty good defense. So they might not be like that bad. But quarterback play is a huge part in winning games nowadays.
Exactly what happens. And guess what? All of those quarterbacks will still be in their prime.
They might be drafting a quarterback if
they get to January, if they get that far, to have a chance to knock them off when it matters. And I know we discussed CJ Stroud, and ultimately we just talked about Anthony Richardson, who was by every definition a dart throw in the draft process, but another player that worked out that was a dart throw when he was coming out of Oregon was Justin Herbert. And I know Justin Herbert's stock isn't high right now as he is coming off of a playoff game in which he threw 4 interceptions despite having 3.
This nigga is the least criticized quarterback of all time, bro. Gotta be. People want to give shit about Lamar's playoff record. This motherfucker right here hasn't won a single playoff game in his career. People would just want to say how good Herbert is, bro. Some people want to put him in the top 5. He hasn't had a single playoff win. He choked a 28-6 lead against the Jags in the playoffs. Choked that. He threw 4 picks last year, which 3 of them were his fault. So, like, bro, we're gonna have to start criticizing Herbert sometime soon, gang, because there's no way, bro.
Entire 2024 regular season, but the reality is, and the truth is, a lot of NFL teams would give up not just 1, but multiple first-round picks just to have a chance to have Justin Herbert be their franchise signal caller. Now, if there is one topic that I'm confident on that we will not agree on, it's where Justin Herbert currently ranks amongst his fellow quarterbacks, whether that's top 6, top 10, top 12, whatever the case may be. I simply ask the question, do you think a team like Miami, Pittsburgh, maybe even Seattle would like to have Justin Herbert as their starting quarterback entering
Pittsburgh will take anybody at this point. I'm not going to lie. They will take anybody at this point.
A player that at times has shown to be a very, very good starter and a player that threw for over 5,000 yards in just his second season, that doesn't mean anything because ultimately this is a guy who has 0 playoff wins in the first 5 years of his career, which goes back to the point and reemphasizes just how hard it is to win in today's NFL.
This is what I'm talking about. Why is he throwing this ball to Quentin Johnson out of all receivers?
The whole other conversation about quarterbacks on expiring rookie contracts having to get paid because they are not draft busts. And if a quarterback is a draft bust, it's easy to wish them well, trade them for a 7th round pick for a 6th round swap, and move on. But if a quarterback at any point has shown top 11 or 12 or 13 capabilities, then the reality is they are getting paid. Tua Tagovailoa received a $200+ million contract. Trevor Lawrence received the exact same contract Joe Burrow did in terms of average annual value, despite not having 70 career touchdown passes. And when you factor in the public pressure combined with how easy it is to not have a quarterback of their caliber, this puts franchises in near impossible situations at the quarterback position. Now, obviously, the quarterback position has a lot to do with a team's success, and I realize that's not groundbreaking information, but so does the defense. Despite having Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Travis Kelce, the Chiefs won 15 games last year due in large part to their defense.
And the refs.
They allowed 30 points just twice in the regular season, which was to the Bills in Week 11, and the Broncos in Week 18 when they started most of their backups and had just 98 yards of offense with 5 first downs. And, of course, the Super Bowl in which Philly scored 40 points, but the point is, Kansas City got to where they were last year due in large part to Steve Spagnuolo's unit. And I think you have to look at a team like Buffalo, who has done pretty much everything the right way in building a franchise over the past several years, yet haven't been to a Super Bowl.
I know that's got to be demoralizing, bro. Imagine I think Josh is like 4-2 against Mahomes in a regular season. It's got to be demoralizing where it gets to the point where every time in the playoffs, the same guy sends you home every year. That's crazy, bro. Like, I think he's 0-4 against Mahomes twice in the AFC Championship, twice in the divisional round. That's
what
tough,
teams would
bro.
give up for Joe
That's
Burrow,
tough.
and I don't think there is a realistic price for what it would cost to go get Josh Allen, yet due to no fault of his own, he hasn't played in the big game yet. And what makes winning so impossible is the accounting aspect of the NFL. Players that are good on their rookie contracts eventually get paid, of course, but being able to replicate the production they provided while they were on the rookie contract is nearly impossible. And I'm not anti-paying players, but there was a reason the 49ers were able to have everyone on their roster that they did over the past few years, and it was because of how cheap Brock Purdy's contract was. Being able to pay him around $1 million per year allowed them to be able to pay the Trent Williams, the Deebo Samuels, the George Kittles, and the Fred Warners of the world, and plenty more, and not have to worry about it. I mean, this was a team that went to the NFC Championship game in 2022, then went out and signed Javon Hargrave to a 4-year, $84 million deal because they wanted to upgrade their interior defensive line and knew their window was short with a quarterback on a cheap contract. And there was a reason Deebo Samuel was traded to the Commanders of all teams this offseason, and it's because they are currently in the window the 49ers were in a few years ago, where they have a quarterback on a cheap discount relative to the production he provides in Jaden Daniels. And there's two realities when it comes to players.
Why is JD looking like that?
You can either pay everyone and manipulate the cap to be able to pay everyone, or you can trade them before it's time to pay them big money and hope to improve your roster with a high draft pick, kind of like the Seahawks did this offseason by trading DK Metcalf, rather than pay him an average of $32 million per year, knowing that they're going to have to pay 2023 first-round pick Jackson Smith-Njigba as early as next offseason. And if you choose to pay everyone, then a lot of the time the rest of your roster is either cheap veterans trying to save their career or late-round rookies hoping to prove their worth. And if you have a few positions that you pay significantly more than others, then you are inevitably going to have a weak spot or a big chink in the armor somewhere. And NFL coaches are paid millions of dollars for a reason, and it's to help their team execute at the highest level, meaning they spend hours upon hours watching tape and building a game plan every week, and they will eventually find the weakness. It may not be in week 2 after you dominate in week 1, but it will eventually happen. So what some teams try to do to counter this is they try to invest in a draft pick a year early so that when a player inevitably departures, they have their replacement with a year under their belt ready to hit the ground running. And I know there are several more examples of this, but the two that come to mind for me personally in the past couple of years
are the
Bengals selecting Dax Hill to eventually replace Jesse Bates, and the Ravens drafting linebacker Trenton Simpson to eventually replace Patrick Queen. And this goes back to the accounting part where NFL teams have to balance the books. And one part that I don't think is talked about as much nationally as much as I think it will be over the course of the next couple of years is NFL teams viewing the salary cap different in the sense of, hey, instead of paying X or Y player, whatever the number is, whether it's $30 or $40 million, that's a non-quarterback. I think they're going to view it as a positional payment rather than just paying Micah Parsons $41 million to break Myles Garrett's $40 million. And why I bring Micah Parsons specifically up is he's going to get paid soon. But the Cowboys have a couple
the Cowboys, they love waiting late, bro. Like,
where it's not
they realistically could have paid him a long time ago, which they should have. Paid him before Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, you know what I'm saying? They've waited too long. Now he's gonna be paid more than both of them. But then you got to worry about TJ Watt now. So they better hurry up and get Micah Parsons paid soon, because if TJ Watt gets paid before Micah Parsons, you can kiss Micah Parsons goodbye, Dallas. I'm gonna keep it a buck right now, because he's gonna be probably near $50 million if TJ Watt gets paid before him. Like, real shit, bro. So they better hop on that.
It's going to be that big of a deal when they pay Micah because they have the guys behind him. Sam Williams was a second-round pick back.
Then they did just draft Donovan Ezra-Rocky this past
and as we have
draft
discussed
too.
Countless times in the channel, guys typically play up in contract years because they know, and everyone knows, if they have a big
that might be his replacement, but
they are
at the same time,
to
it's
get heavily
Micah Parsons,
compensated
bro.
the following offseason.
Gotta pay him.
But even without having Sam Williams, they have 2024 second-round pick Marshawn Nealand, who I liked a lot coming coming out of Western Michigan, and I thought he was a player that could be a solid one-trick pony at the NFL level, and a guy that would be the epitome of a Robin to another pass rusher's Batman, and Micah Parsons certainly has the Batman part down in Dallas. But they also drafted Donovan Ezaraku in the second round this year, and I thought Ezaraku was a first-round talent, so credit to Jerry Jones for selecting Ezaraku where he did.
Oh my gosh.
But if they can pay Donovan Ezaraku $2 million versus paying Micah Parsons $40 or $41 million or whatever the case may be, and when you add Micah Parsons $41 million in 2026 and Donovan Ezaraku's $2 million in 2026, instead of looking at it as, hey, we are paying Micah Parsons $41 million, we are paying the edge position an average of $21.5 million. And that is, of course, 21.5 coming, and that number is, of course, coming from Micah Parsons' 41 plus Donovan Ezaraku's $2 million for a cumulative total of $43 million. Ultimately, that is one thing I think the national media will start to discuss more of in the next couple of years, rather than, oh my goodness, it's this player's turn to be the highest paid player, and then guess what? 9 days from now, it's this player's turn to be the highest paid player, and you get the point. Now, for clarity, there will certainly be exceptions, as there's a reason the Bengals paid both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins this offseason, and there's also a reason the Eagles paid both A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. All four of those players are great at what they do, and there's a reason that the organizations opted to pay those guys. It's because they are very good, and they are going to help each team win football games.
Market going up
now,
too.
the one part of football as to why it's so hard to win championships, that is something nobody can predict, is injury. You can do everything the right way, but if you have a 250 or 260 or 290 pound grown man sprinting at a 320 pound grown man every play in the trenches, what do you think is going to happen? Bodies are going to wear down over the course of the game and over the course of a 17-game season. And then if you are fortunate
and the thing too, bro, I heard that the NFL might be turning towards a 18-game season. Bro, like, I know we love football and we, you know what I'm saying, want to see it literally every day as much as we can. But we got to start thinking about the players, bro. 18, I mean, we got to have two bye weeks if we do that. You know what I'm saying? We got to have 2 bye weeks to go to an 18-game season, bro. There's no way that, you know what I'm saying, half of these rosters probably going to be hurt, gang. You know what I'm saying? Like, CTE finna skyrocket even more. So, if we do have an 18-game season, please have 2 bye weeks, bro.
Play in the postseason, you're going to have at minimum the divisional round, the conference championship round, and then the Super Bowl. So guys are going to naturally get hurt over the course of the NFL season, and that is something that nobody can predict, which adds into another factor as to why it's so hard to win a Super Bowl. And I look at a team like the 2024 Lions, who were unfortunately ravaged by injury by season's
Lions
end.
Too.
This, to me, was one of the most complete teams from top to bottom that we've seen over the past
shredded
couple
by
of years.
injuries.
They were my preseason pick to go to the Super Bowl, and I thought there was a very good chance that they were going to go from missing the playoffs in 2022 to going to the NFC Championship game in 2023 to getting to the Super Bowl in 2024. Now, I'll be honest, I did have Kansas City beating them in the Super Bowl, but when you look at this roster, including the coaching staff from Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn to everybody they had, and Aiden Hutchinson specifically, who I thought was on pace to win the Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, he had 45 pressures on 198 pass rushing snaps, and I will be honest, I think that rate was going to fall off as the season progressed, but he was more than likely going to have back-to-back 100 pressure seasons, and
like,
I do think he was...
Hold on, go back. Like, bro, in 5 games, look at these stats. 7.5 sacks. He probably would have broke the sack record if he didn't get hurt. 45 total pressures. That probably would have been like near like 70 or something. Probably even triple digits. That's not too far fetched how he was playing, bro. 19 total tackles, 17 QB hits. He was just unblockable. That's why I feel like they should have drafted a edge rusher in the draft. Now, I understand why they drafted Tyleik Williams, because Lee McNeil tore his ACL last year. But after that, I feel like in the second round, they should have drafted an edge rusher, bro. Because you don't have nobody on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson. And I don't think Aiden Hutchinson is 100% ready yet. But if he does play, you know what I'm saying, week 1, they still going to need somebody on the opposite side of him. Whether they bring back Zadarius Smith or they, bring in Von Miller, they need some pass rush on the opposite side of him, bro. You know what I'm saying?
He was more than likely going to have
they better lock in with
pressure
that
seasons, and I do think he was going to win the defensive
cornerback
player of the
depth they
year.
need too.
It should not be a hot take to say the 2024 Lions were by far the best team in franchise history, yet they didn't get to the Super Bowl due to a lot of reasons that were out of their control. Also, credit the Washington Commanders for going into Detroit and putting up 45 points in the first place and forcing several turnovers in the process, but the Lions on paper were a very, very complete team entering the 2024 season, yet they didn't get the job done. And that's not a shot at Detroit, it's to show how difficult it is just to get to the Super Bowl, let alone win the Super Bowl. And as we saw this offseason with the Lions coaching staff and the Eagles losing several players in free agency, other teams are going to poach the talent you have in hopes of improving their chances of winning a Super Bowl.
And so you want to know another thing I've noticed, bro? You notice how every other team, all the good teams, get their assistant coaches, their defense coordinators, offensive coordinators poached. But when it comes to Kansas City, nobody be touching they staff. The fuck is up with that, huh? Like, bro, they're literally the only team that gets to keep their offensive and defensive coordinators every single year. I feel like it's something up with that, bro. Because there's no way how they're able to compete and go to the AFC Championship, Super Bowl every year and not get their talent poached, bro. Like their defense coordinator, offense coordinator, assistant coaches, and everything. But when we make it to the goddamn AFC Championship game, we lose our defensive coordinator. Like, bro, come on, gang. Like, something don't seem right with that.
And you have several players outperforming their rookie contracts. Or if you sign a couple of cheap veterans that outproduce their contracts that they signed in hopes of saving their career, and injury luck goes in your favor too, and everything goes your way, and somehow, some way you win a Super Bowl, you better enjoy that moment, because winning a Super Bowl in today's era is almost impossible. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please like and subscribe, as it helps the channel tremendously, as well as helps with the almighty YouTube algorithm. Until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.
Hey, man, shit, I want to know what you guys think down comments below. You know what I'm saying? Y'all let me know what other NFL videos I'm going to react to. Without further ado, I'm
I'ma make them feel me, make them people when they show me. And if you don't know me, I'ma make sure that you know me. I hate to say it, but I really think I'm broke. But I know I'm chosen, I really know I'm chosen. I know I'm chosen. I was just lost a year ago, but now I'm focused. When good at sports, this microphone can be my trophy. Not taking drugs, I found a better way of coping.